Hello, everybody in the free enterprise community, and thank you so much to RPG Limit Break for hosting us. So, if you are new to the community, welcome. Good afternoon, evening, morning. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I know that we have an amazing match. We are here in the OMG Finals, Game 4, Pyre versus Pankraz. My name is John Burkett. I am joined in the booth by Harumph. Harumph, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, although I think in a lot of places here, evening starts at around 5 p.m. these days, so...
I don't know. The clock's changed. The sun glare when I'm driving is at like 3:18, and my daughter's like, "Dad, it's like 4 o'clock. Why is it dark outside?" I'm like, "Honey, I'm a music teacher. I don't teach science. I don't know about the Earth. I don't know." But regardless of whatever your natural light situation is, I can assure you that your viewing situation is stellar. We have two of our top runners in the community in Game 4 and Best of 5 with our OMG tournament. Harumph, you want to give a little rundown of the flags here?
Sure. This is our kind of our meme-ish flag set here. So our objectives start at number 2, running down to 8 for our 7 objectives. The big flag here is the Omnidextrous flag. So with this flag set here, armor can be equipped on on any part of your body, and you can have a weapon in each of your hands. It doesn't matter, who gets what here, because everyone can equip everything.
Absolutely. This is personally my absolute favorite randomizer. And the event team and the folks behind the scenes here really found a very interesting way to go ahead and kind of reestablish the meta. Because when you have quote-unquote more traditional seeds, if you will, there's kind of a general framework that a lot of runners will go ahead and do. And this just takes it and turns it right on your head. If you have 4 crystal swords, you want to give 2 of them to a 5-year-old Porum, go nuts. Would Kane look gorgeous in 3 Heron robes as she betrays everybody? Absolutely. And as that flexibility with equipping has opened all kinds of doors, this amazing community did what it always does, came together to try to figure out the speediest and best way to go ahead and run through these seeds. And we're going to see some of that high caliber gameplay today.
Yeah. Now, I didn't catch you the starting character. We're going to start with the Rosa here. So you're starting with either Rosa or Porum. With a white mage of varying quality with
Correct.
the flag set here. And there are seven of the 11 possible characters will be showing up in the seed here. No Tella, and we have Cecil, Fusolia, and Yang as our restricted characters. We start off here. We start off with the Sid. So we've got some HP and a hook right away. So we have our underground access. It's just a matter of what you want to do with it.
Yep, there's a lot to unpack in a very short amount of time here. So we have, as you mentioned, Rosa is our white mage start. You can have Rosa or Porum. Rosa does not learn exit unless we go ahead and do the Tower of Zod. So at the moment, we don't have exit. That kit, it's a random kit. That kit is huge because of those 70 Ether 1s. Very often you might see a little bit of shopping to go ahead and try to find some camping gear that might go ahead and leave your anchor down. Those 70 Ether 1s and 70 life pots are basically camping gear, so you're going to see some minimal shopping. And Sid, much to the Elven sorrows of the world, is best boy. Sid is built for a flag set like this because of his natural stats. Pankraz is off to Evelyn. We have vanilla traps that are on, so we'll see our runners going ahead looting freely, and we'll see what they pick up.
Yep. All right, so we have full moon here, so we've got our easily back row. Everyone else here. Yeah, the thing with Sid as well is because Sid has naturally low agility here. You can have him as your anchor later on. If you need to have in a spot here where you do need to get your turns in.
Absolutely. The left side, we have some divergence here. With that starting hook, we see that Pyre is going ahead and launching the whale, which is necessary. There are 2 different ways in this game to get underground, the magma key or the hook. With these flags, it is in fact force hook, so we know we're not going to be seeing the magma key directly in the overworld, so this needs to be this this hovercraft needs to be launched. Pankraz has found a bounty here in Eblin. We're seeing a poison axe, we've seen a black belt, we've seen a full moon for back rowing. We've seen a lot of power. That Thunderclaw is great. Power staffs are great that we opened earlier. Very often you might see a lot of runners looking for basically like an accessory weapon, you know, something that hits a weakness like that Thunderclaw might, or if you find a Silent Staff. We've seen a lot of very strong, powerful gear here early on, and Pyre is going to find it as well.
Yep. One thing you won't find with this flag set is a curse ring. Again, leaving up to that to the agility manipulation. So we're seeing drain swords, dwarf axes, drain spears being used to lower an agility if we need an anchor. Conversely here. Sorry.
No, by all means, I apologize. Go ahead.
Conversely here, any items here that can, to speed up your characters will be, certainly useful on the overworld as well.
Absolutely. For those of you that are new to Free Enterprise or hopping in, so basically agility manipulation is a big part of the randomizer. In this particular flag set, long story short, the person that is in the center slot, so if you look at Pankraz's screen where Rosa's napping body is going to determine how fast or slow everybody goes, the people in your own party as well as the opponent. In this flag set, anyone can equip anything. That Drain Sword has a -5 agility, and for these particular fights, you want to go ahead and have a slower character. Also, as we're looking for our key items to accomplish our objectives, K Trap is on. K standing for key item, and trap chests, meaning that in those trap chests, we might go ahead and find our key items. Pankraz took on that first trap chest in the Mount of Ogres, but it only had a glass hat. Pyre did not take on that chest, and we have Divergence, with Pankraz going to Baron in, and Pyre looking at Edward, who has a potential free item from bed.
Another thing I'm noting, we're seeing that Rosa is down on Pankraz's side, so planning on using Rosa as the anchor for the time.
It's possible. Baron in, you're going to get a free. Boy, that's a darkness crystal. I'm sure we're going to discuss that very momentarily here. But Pankraz will get a full heal and acquire his Palom as well. With that Drain Sword, it's possible, like you were saying earlier, since natural low agility basically means he can probably be an anchor really at any given moment. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Rosa getting XP eventually, and later on. Spells like Blink and Berserk are just incredibly powerful.
The Darkness Crystal being at the Bedward location here does provide some information about one of your objectives. Because Force Hook is on, the only way to get underground is via the hook, which means that you're not going to find the magma key on the moon. You're not going to find the magma key on the giant. You're not, or the giant battle in the last Star. So they have Pyre, at least right now, has that piece of information working for them as well.
Yes. Also, that Darkness Crystal does open up a handful of checks. There is what we refer to as the Hairdryer chest, which is a trap chest. It's only a Sork rope for Pankraz, but honestly, that's pretty appropriate because with Palom, Palom can equip anything, but it's going to certainly want to equip that Sork rope. And we'll talk about the power of what we refer to as sweepers in just a moment. But with the Darkness Crystal, we can also check what's referred to as the Eyeball or the Last Arm chest, which is on the way to the giant. And Cave Bahamut is one of our objectives, so that's access to an objective. So a lot happening in a very short amount of time here.
And who knows, there may be possibility of more than one objective being gated either with the lunar in the lunar trap chest here, or our favorite 5 spots down in the lunar subterranean. We do see an edge on
this party's loaded.
It's huge.
Yeah, we sometimes you'll see some opening parties like in Edward without and Rydia and team 90 HP or what have you. That's not the case here. We have a very strong melee character, which means that if you wanted to turn Sid into an anchor already, because you have another very strong naturally melee character, you're in good shape. In addition, that Palom is someone that can cast Quake at level 23, which happens relatively soon. And we utilize what's referred to as a sweeper. Many of the trap chests have multiple enemies, and you need AoE. If you utilize that agility and manipulation that we talked about earlier, you're going to see both of our runners having Palom casting Quake before any of the enemies even have a chance to go. Both of our runners are incredibly skilled, and they will talk about run buffering when it comes up and things like that. But the long story is we have two high-power runners who have basically been given the keys to the kingdom, and we as viewers now get to go ahead and watch some really high-power execution on both their ends.
We're seeing more divergence here. We're seeing Pankraz taking on the Flame Dog chest, and Pyre going to down the Antlion cave.
Yep. So Pyre did check the freebie from Eddie. And did not route this in. The Flame Dog can be a little tricky. I know that we did get some Dragoon armor from Eblin, and that provides resistance, as we see some dolls are about to catch on fire. And Pankraz is so fast, I have no idea what he just picked up. But
I believe it was a crystal shield. So not the greatest item, but still walking it out here, presumably here to keep that to keep the experience for Palom to try to get that Palom to level 23 as quickly as possible. We see a black shirt, black robe out of the Antlion cave. Pyre says, "I don't even want to walk this out here," and that's the reset out.
That's how tight the windows are for a lot of these races, where it's not that long of a walk, and you might get a nice little boost for your wisdom, for your black magic. Our runners know that they have to optimize everything that they possibly can, and so if it's not anything critical, if they're not going to get the time back by having the item, you'll see resets like that quite a bit. So we have a little bit of a crisscrossing here. Our runners can go down the hook route really whenever they're ready. As you discussed earlier, they're not going to find the magma key up here. So it leads to questions like, are we going to go ahead and do what's referred to as the Cursed Mountain, which is that of Mount Ordeals. That's 3 boss checks and the possibility of going ahead and maybe finding the Gauntlet in one of those 3 checks, plus the main check. Are we going to go to Fabul, which may or may not be efficient, depending on if we find the pan. Once we're done with kind of this crisscross here, it'd be interesting to see where our runners go and how they proceed.
Yeah, presumably here, again, you're looking for that sweeper here so we can at least, get the Eblin check, the Castle Eblin checks out of the way. Fabul here might be a bit quicker if you need a quick infusion. Of course, you've got 2 bosses to provide your experience on Mount Ordeals. Possibly 3 here if you do find that that Fabul gauntlet in the on top of the mountain.
Pankraz electing to go ahead and walk out with the black shirt. So that's going to be, when you combine that with the Sork Rope, that's going to be plus 10 wisdom for Palom. Once we get underground, we have seen that if Palom barely learns Quake by the time he gets underground, there's one chest in particular that some runners like to do as we are both off to our next checks, where Palom might not have enough wisdom, which is how we measure the black power strength, to go ahead and actually clear out the warrior chest. So I wonder if that's kind of in the back of his mind a little bit.
Pankraz's runners will probably be happy to see the edge.
Yep. As was pointed out in chat, Pankraz had a little bit of a longer time with that doll fight. I do love how he took out the blue dolls while Palom was casting fire too. That way there'd be less targets, and the red dolls, which are the weaker dolls, were the ones that were left. But the flame went much faster for Pyre.
See Pyre here take on the other check, the other trap chest at Eblin. We haven't seen this one here. Again, we've only seen the Mad Ogre chest here that Pankraz did seed.
Yep, those Stalemen can be quite tricky. As we see Palom go down, let's see if he tries to get Palom up here. Nope, I guess we're going to get Palom that experience later, or maybe Palom's going to go ahead and be our anchor. It is possible to go ahead and do the sweeping we were discussing with Edge. Edge can equip anything. And when the hook route is completed, as we have a ribbon for our troubles, which can actually come in quite handy with when we get down to Sylph.
Absolutely.
Edge can absolutely use his ninjutsu to go ahead and sweep as well. So we might be seeing Palom with low agility just staying down, and Pyre saying, you know what, I'd rather have 2 strong melee characters, and we'll use Edge for the sweeping. So that might be exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. We're seeing Pankraz prepping to go to Fabul to defend the castle. Did see him put a ninja hat on Sid here, so kind of speed up a little bit here. That ninja hat was found at the Antlion Cave, I believe, that Pankraz did walk out of.
Yeah, Ninja Hat's a nice piece of gear. It's plus strength. It's also +3 agility, which helps to go ahead and speed things up a little bit. Pyre finding a Protect Ring. So Protect Ring and a ribbon, lots of magic defense, and we know that this is only a glass hat. So one of the few times we're not going to have any kind of progression from Evelyn Cave. And honestly, the gear, while it's nice, is not really game-breaking in any way, shape, or form. So that might feel a little bit bad, but I can't possibly imagine that Pankraz is not going to go back and redo those steps. So while it might not feel great to not get the progression that we're looking for here, I don't think it's going to be a waste of time for Pyre at all.
Yeah, like it's experience. But get that those hit points, those magic points here a little bit higher. Just to provide that little bit of extra buffer room here if we do find something nasty along in Upper Babel.
Yep. I mean, lots of protection, and we've never had DKC at the King Queen spot. Of course not. We would never do that. Pankraz hitting pay dirt. Really, there's one of 2 items you're looking for if you're going to take Fabul before going underground, and that's either the pan or tower key to go ahead and save some routing. And Pankraz hitting the pan there really pays off. So that's a check that has to feel very good for him right now.
Yeah, definitely panned out for him.
Got you. I got you.
You're welcome. All right, Pankraz looking to launch the hovercraft here. Iron's already made his way. Cave Evelyn here, we're seeing doing a little bit of shopping, seeing what's available. It's pro shops, so we're not going to see. It's going to be fairly low-powered items you're going to see here, but you may, if you need to get, something to attack a weakness, it may be worth that purchase there.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to go ahead and talk about tiering. Every item in the game is tiered either 1 through 8. We are on T Pro, that's Treasure Pro, and we're also on S Pro. So with the treasure, we are max tier 5, and so Pyre looking for really the big get is a Heron robe. That's probably the most powerful tier 5 item that we'll find. And with S Pro, there are shops that you can access right away, and then there are shops like the ones that he was just at underground, which are gated shops, and those shops allow you to buy things up to tier 4. So normally, if you don't have a kit like this, looking for Ether 2s can be really big. Finding a Dwarf Axe, which allows you to go ahead and manipulate your agility, can be really big, along with a handful of other things. So there's not a ton of shopping that we often see on this flag set, but you can certainly find some goodies like that Ogre Axe that Pyre just used to go ahead and kill that Staleman.
And there you go.
So we are almost guaranteed, outside of a nasty Luca key. You know what's funny about that D-Mist is Elvin Sorrow and I have a joke because every time that we find a silver staff, we go, hey John, can you know what a silver staff does? Because a silver staff allows you to go ahead and turn off Berserk, and there was one for sale in Fabul. And sometimes when you have a D-Mist that has, 25,200 HP, Berserking a character and then using that silver staff to turn off Berserk can be a very speedy way to go ahead and get through that fight. That is awful. That is an awful spot for D-Mist.
Yeah. Zerk with the D-Mist at a high HP spot here means you don't have that silver staff here, which casts Dispel, Dispel here, which isn't a spell that's typically available in the US version of Final Fantasy IV/US Final Fantasy II. Uh, yeah, you don't want to get blasted in the face with cold mist repeatedly.
No, you certainly do not. The I think we're gonna see a swing toward Pankraz here, though. It looks like Pyre is ahead, because Pyre is further down. Pankraz did do the it did do the Fabul check, which has the pan, so that is gonna, we'll say it, pan out. But the other thing to be cognizant of is that with that D-Mist fight, for those of you that are new, D-Mist attacks 3 times and then turns into Mist form and results in everyone's favorite thing to do, wait. You wait for the Mist Dragon to appear again, and then you have a little more time to attack and go back and forth. Pyre is anchoring with Palom, which is a perfectly valid choice. You have 2 very strong melee characters, and you have an edge that can go ahead and sweep. But Pankraz already has Virus, and it's very likely that Pankraz is going to have Quake as we find more agility manip. Those Quake casts, with the black shirt that he has, with the Sork rope, maybe with the change rod that I think I've seen one of our runners have, that Quake is going to do a lot of damage in one shot. So we should try to keep track of the times here, but I think Quake all by itself and alone is going to make that D-Mist fight go faster for Pankraz than it will for Pyre.
Yeah, like it's one thing to have, 2, like, yeah, the more people you have attacking here, the faster you're gonna get through a fight. Simple math.
Yeah. Plumeria and I bringing up an excellent point in chat. Edge has the ability to go ahead and steal Bacchus wine. As we're seeing a sparkle here, this could be fun. This is
fine.
Yeah, we're not going to go ahead and be quaking a floating plague, although we did have the ability to go ahead and quake a floating set of CPU. But regardless, this fight is essentially free. In this flag set, you cannot buy some of our nicer J items from the Japanese game unless we are literally in the Forge shop. And that includes Bacchus wine, which can go ahead and cast Berserk upon consumption. With a melee heavy party, that can be very helpful. In the Mad Ogre chest, if Edge is successful with a steal, you can go ahead and steal a Bacchus wine per successful attempt. Pyre did not elect to go ahead and do so. It is a little bit harder with the Mad Ogres because of the levels. It does take a few times. We'll see if Pankraz elects to do that when we get to that trap chest.
Yeah, like, you don't see it. I don't think I've seen it too often because, again, you're not guaranteed to have an edge in it. It's that risk, that risk reward here. I'm only able to go through the time sink of going through the Mad Ogres, because I know when I try to steal from Mad Ogres with an edge here, I usually miss about 8 times before I get my first one.
Yeah. Well, so you had mentioned earlier about you can go ahead and have one of 2 of our white mages as our starting characters. You can have Rosa and you can have Porum. And objectively, Porum is generally considered to be the weaker of the 2 white mages. However, she learns Exit without requiring Zot. She learns Blink and Berserk faster than Rosa does. And because this is a perfectly coded game with no problems whatsoever, there is a quirk because of the $2F memory slot that when she cries, it makes it easier for Edge to go ahead and steal. I wonder if, for Pyre anyway, if we had a Porum in there that was able to utilize her cry command, if we would have seen an attempt to go ahead and steal some Bacchus wine.
Yeah, definitely, something here to consider here. We can see what, and Pankraz does steal a Bacchus. So see how many he elects to grab. On Pyre's side, it's swing and wait. So it's 20, just a little shade over 25,000 HP to chew through. So it's gonna take a little time. We'll probably be waiting at least one more time, maybe 2, with the numbers we're seeing.
Yeah, it's possible. Nice little bit of tech for Pankraz. Putting Palom in the back row just to really ensure that Palom does not get kind of smacked down here. We are life glitching, which the short version is basically When you have enemies that do not have what's referred to as the boss bit, and the Mad Ogre is just a quote-unquote common enemy, when you time a life pot, you can go ahead and bring them back to life, and then they die again immediately, so you get double XP, as we are seeing Quake on that Palom. To answer a question in chat, Cry, I believe, was originally designed... I believe that common enemies were supposed to be originally programmed with the idea of them being able to run away, and crying was supposed to help to increase the odds of that happening. That particular mechanic never actually came to fruition, and we are left with the game being, the game what it is.
We are going to see here how having the Palom with Quake here actually speeds up this fight. Pyre is over 3 minutes into this fight so far.
Yeah, I have my little clicky, wrote it down. Pyre entered the fight at 1928, and we have a shake at 2240. So, xPankraz with that one extra check of Fabul being done. With what I would say is an easier sweeping situation, although Pyre is so very, very good with his inputs that it's probably not going to be that much of an impact. We'll see what happens here. Pyre, by the way, that fight is not easy. It's very easy to get tilted in that fight, to go ahead and try to force it. Getting underground at 23 minutes with D-Mist in that spot is really quite impressive. So really nicely done with Pyre, and we'll see how xPankraz handles the same spot.
Pyre does check who's at the top of Lower Babel. We do see Valis.
Yep, Val up there is not terrible, despite my personal experiences with her. Val does not have any magic defense up there. So normally when she's in her spin in a lot of different places, magic will do either 1 or literally 0 damage. That's not the case up there. So a Quaking Palom will go ahead and be able to go ahead and do some damage. We have 2 strong melee characters, and we're anchored with Berserk. So we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, Pyre electing here to go here to look like going to the Fate March instead of, what some people may do here when you have a tower key, land straight back down, straight back down and head up the tower.
Yeah. It's the Valis part of it might be a little troubling, maybe. So we're gonna see one of the bigger differences between having Quake as your sweeping versus Blitz. These warriors, I want to say they have like 2200 HP each, something in that category, and they have no weaknesses whatsoever. This Blitz is going to do a good amount of damage, but it is not going to go ahead and kill them all on the first try. So you're more than likely going to go ahead and see some healing up. You're going to see what's referred to as run buffering, which we'll talk about in a little while, and this is going to take 2 different attempts to go ahead, or really 2 rounds of this Blitz to go through.
On xPankraz's side here, we did see Palom bluff twice, I believe, here to increase that spell power of that Quake. And you still see that Palom's Quake hit for over 5,000, like 5,600. Without those bluffs to boost that magic power here, you'd probably be seeing numbers in above the low 3,000s.
Yep, really excellent use of that mechanic. Bluff will raise for the fight your wisdom by 15, and it does stack. For a little bit of reference, if you've played the game before, in our more traditional flag set, you know that a Stardust Rod is a really great piece of gear to go ahead and improve your wisdom. A Stardust Rod has 15 wisdom. So if you that Charm Rod has plus 10. So every time you bluff, you're basically putting a Stardust Rod on Palom.
Yep, and we did see a cheeky virus prior to the Mist turning into Mist here to get that additional 2,000 damage here before it turns back here, and then has the Q Quake queued up here to hit right away, and takes down the D-Mist, and that was nearly a minute faster than Pyre.
Yep, so we're seeing the difference here. Also, with Luca Key and the Fame March freebie, we are guaranteed to find our Luca Key, or we'll find our Magma Key down here somewhere. we know it's down here. There's a odd circumstance where you go to the moon, and then you find the pan, and then you turn the pan, and through that chain you can get the magma key. There are 3 items where that kind of thing can happen. It's the pan, the tower key, the Luca key. We have access to all 3. We know the magma key is down here somewhere. So that's one objective that we're going to be finding, and we know that we have access to the top of tower, of course. With Val, that's 2. And we have access to Cave Bahamut, and that's 3. So we have access to half of our required objectives already. It'll be interesting to see where the other ones are.
In the meantime, here, Pyre did find, I believe it was a Charm Rod at the Feymarch box here. Also, to take a peek at the boxes, at the bosses. At the Feymarch, just get some information of who you won't be seeing. We won't have to deal with here. We won't have to deal with Goldness, and we won't have to deal with one of the Lunar Spartans.
K Summon is a flag that is not on. That Charm Rod is actually pretty big for Pyre, because any opportunity you have to go ahead and boost Edge's wisdom is pretty significant. So that's plus 10 wisdom as we see Blitz taking out these ghosts. So what you saw there was a run buffer. You're going to see both of our runners do this quite masterfully. Essentially, what happened... Ooh, Crystal Sword's not supposed to power. So essentially what happens is while you have that... Oh, there's a free Charm Rod right there. That's funny. While you have the text box that occurs from timing the fact that you're running, the text box that says that you cannot run, that allows you to basically get some free inputs. You'll see this utilized in the vanilla speedrun of the game, and it allows our runners to go ahead and get their inputs in to cast their AoE spell before we have any kind of option whatsoever for the enemies to get their attacks. It gets progressively harder with some of the other fights, as we're going to see in just a moment on Pyre's side, but both of our runners are executing it just brilliantly.
Pyre electing here to the 3 top chests in the self-K first, with one HP here. All 3 of the upper chests here in the vanilla game here are 6 ghosts, so it's pretty easy. It's very predictable in terms of buffering here for that to get that AoE attack up here. With the chest here with the centipedes, the double mobiles, and then I don't remember what was the only 4 characters in that there. Yeah, like sometimes here, enemies here will be able to get off a few attacks here, which is why you see so before Pyre took those attacks, you saw a little bit of HP report.
Yeah, here's how good Xpankraz's run buffering is. Here's how ridiculous what he just did was. He buffered once to go ahead and kill Rosa to make sure that she stayed down so that the agility would be low enough so that his sweeper can go first, as we see a package on Pyre's side from the Poison Treasury, and then buffered again so that the Quake could go ahead and go off. And here's how good Pyre's is. Pyre, with all that wisdom boosting gear, Blitz now is able to go ahead and kill it, and that fight can be a little tricky to go ahead and buffer off when you only have so many characters. When your anchor is dead, and when there's only 4 enemies, as we see our runners doing a bit of a high five here. Basically, the more runners that are the more characters, both on the on the villain side and the hero side, the more people that are alive and entering the queue, the more time you have to act. Unless you've tried it, to really explain just how really tight the window is for our runners to go ahead and do what they're doing is really exceptional.
Pyre looks like it's going to set up the Shield of 1 check now. In that Poison Treasure here, we did a package here. It looks like a Luca key was in one of the chests as well.
Luca key was in our Feymarch freebie.
What's right? That was the Feymarch freebie. I thought it was for some reason. All right.
No, we found the package was in the Poison Treasury, and while we had a lot of power like Crystal Sword and Excalibur, I don't believe there are any other key items down here.
Yeah. Package might have this rule call here, but I don't anticipate anyone making that check here, because that is a long check for a boss for sure.
Yeah. Also worth noting, we're 31 minutes in. We've seen these runners do seeds in the vicinity of an hour. While we have access to objectives, We have 5 key items, 6 total that we know of, and nothing quite completed. Sometimes these seeds have a tendency to bottleneck, and then they open wide up. But it's interesting because of all the power that we have, and the efficiency with the runners are clearing everything out, and yet Pyre's about to go ahead and give this Val a bad day. But it's interesting that the seed has not really facilitated, with the way it's laid out, its key items has not facilitated clearing out these objectives just yet.
Again, here, one of them is going to be down here. Again, they're Pyre choosing here to go to Battle. This does represent 6 key item checks here with the 4 alert trap chests, the cannon room, and the top attack.
Yep. So I think it's very likely that we're gonna find Mac Key down here. It could be behind Luca or Dwarf Castle, but I think it's if I had to put money on it, which I don't because I'm a teacher, I would go ahead and bank on the Magma Key being here. So that'll be another objective. But yeah, it's speaking of objective, hey, there it is for you, Harumph, just for you, buddy, just for you.
I've been outspoken in my dislike of the Twin Harp check, but this is the championships, and both of the runners are certainly willing to incur my wrath here for a chance at that title, and in Pankraz's case, being the second person to be a 2-time tournament champion.
There we go. For those of you wondering what we're referring to, these objectives are memes. Why is the Verbal Gauntlet a meme? Because it takes forever and it usually ends up having nothing, at least when I'm running it. Why is Lower Babel an objective? Because usually, sometimes you have to go up there without the tower key. It takes forever, and then you have an issue. And then there's the Twin Harp. Twin Harp is a wonderful check for all of you because we have dedicated members of this community that randomize the song that Eddie plays, and it can be from all kinds of your favorite video games over the years. But it's a very long check, and when you're going for a race, it's not necessarily the greatest thing. Certain people, like my lovely co-commentator over here, have not been shy about their feelings regarding that particular matter. So naturally, it sparked joy for me to go ahead and point out that we have a harp. We're going to have music.
And we have a Nope Noodle in the cannon room, which is fine. Definitely a place where you like to see a Nope Noodle, unless unless one were to come out of say Sylph Cave and not replenish HP, but not the case of Pyre.
Yeah, Possum faster than me in running and faster than me with my comment. It's very tempting when you feel like you have to go not to go ahead and heal, because in the vanilla game, that's the dark imp spot. 3 dark imps. There's not a lot of. There's like 400 HP or something incredibly low, and so you get the idea like, I don't need to heal. I'll just go ahead and power through. That Ogo is going to take half your HP no matter what. If Pyre had not healed, because he knew he didn't have to heal for the alerts because of the way the fights are broken out, that would have been a huge time loss. So really heads up from Pyre on that end.
Aside from that, we haven't seen again here. It looks like just the Twin Harp. Only thing of that real value here from the trap chest. On here, we're going to see what's at the top of the tower. After Pyre presumably takes out this Val, and we'll find out here if the Enterprise comes along here to save the day and bring something useful.
Yeah, we've spent a good amount of time talking about the Quake advantage. I think we saw that with how quickly Pankraz was able to go ahead and sweep, and Pankraz will pick up time on the warrior chest because that'll be a one-shot and we're done. But there's also the Berserk advantage. With Pankraz using Rosa as his anchor, the ability to cast Berserk is a little difficult when she's not conscious. So here we immediately see Pyre casting Berserk. We also have access to Blink. For fights like this, and honestly a lot of the fights later on, Berserk is incredibly powerful and useful. The utility of it is incredibly strong. even without the Magma Key logic, I wonder if both of our runs would be driven toward Dwarf Castle anyway, in hopes of picking up a fifth character that would literally just be an anchor, like a situation where you'd actually be happy to see a Yang, who is very potato-ish on this particular flag set, but serves as a great anchor.
Or like even a Fu here, like, with the potential to have that second source of Berserk, a source of exit.
Yep. Pankraz, seeing the sparkle, understanding what could possibly be happening, and faking at least this commentator out over here, worrying that might have been an issue, but I should have known better. And Pankraz very, very happy that he healed. Pyre's going to show us what we get from Lower Babel.
It's Earth our oyster today.
So Baron Key is probably if you had to pick one particular item of quote unquote progression to find that is the most divisive, it's the Baron Key. It's a long check. It is 3 boss checks, although you are able to go ahead and see what the starting boss is at the beginning of the game. So I don't know what it was, but I can certainly tell you it wasn't a blue robe. And if K Summon is on, when you go down to the Baron Basement, that's option for another key item check. So on a lot of flag sets, it's 2 opportunities. It's an awfully long check. Plus, we have the Darkness Crystal, which gives us more checks. So it's an opportunity for divergence. We've seen a lot of seeds where that Baron Key has paid out. So that's something to keep an eye on as this race continues.
Of note here, none of our players have done ordeals, which is certainly potentially a less valuable check, less incentive for that check, because you don't have that early Cecil, and if there is going to be any progression, it's not towards a main. As mentioned by Possum, plus Morpheus here, who is not eating the buttons today.
No, he's just eating my inputs because he keeps typing everything faster than I can say it. Anyway, Pyre is, there's one mantra that has not changed when it comes to this flag set or really any other, and that's to go ahead and do your objectives. Pyre taking advantage of the fact that everyone is already weak from Poison Treasury and other things. It's very easy to go ahead and magnetize our runners, since they can equip anything, and Pyre is going to go off and do his second objective, which is the Twin Harp.
I mean, both for time's sake here and for Sandy's sake here, the less time spent in Cave Magnets, the better.
So, with the way the Magma Key logic works, because we got both the Twin Harp as well as the Baron Key from underground, we might be seeing the Magma Key here. We could also potentially be seeing the Magma Key in Baron. So I really like this play from Pyre because you have the opportunity to potentially kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Where if you have to do Harp, it's not hard required necessarily yet, but it's an objective. You're going to do it as quickly as you possibly can. And if this ends up having, the Magma Key, or really any other piece of progression, then you might potentially see an opportunity to skip something like a Dwarf Castle or a Luki Cave.
But it's that time here where even I am
where we talk
obligated.
Where we talk over everything. Folks, I have a piano here. I can try to play along real quick. I can hop over and just play along as loudly as possible. What's that?
Fantastic, actually.
Would it?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an in-bend glare right there. I'm gonna be quiet. Well, that dark elf is ruining things.
Ruining things.
With it. Well, for the delightful folks that were entertaining. Come on, Harav, getting the twin harp spirit. The music, of course, does change. Edge go burr with some kind of dragon killing something or other, and that sucker is down. Meanwhile, we do have some divergence. Pankraz is taking on this dwarf castle. A lot of information coming here.
All rats.
Well, it's another key item. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're heading toward a 10 key item bonus, so that's good. Pyre also showing us that we don't have exit. And if Palom is your anchor, then he's probably not getting to level 29 where he'd be able to warp out, excuse me. No 5th character for Pankraz, just another Sid. And a very speedy. Well, that's one way to. Pyre is so fast that he can just go ahead and get the wyvern to go ahead and explode. There are a few witch burns that exist there. Witch burn is a flag that exists if you want to have wyvern do something other than cast Mega Nuke at the beginning of a fight. Wyvern casting Mega Nuke there can be a run killer from time to time. And Pyre still hasn't done Flame Dog, so we're going to see probably a save scum out of here once. I forget what it was, but it wasn't progression. But yeah, let's see what we got here.
Just the crystal gauntlet.
Yeah, so we have information, but no progression there.
Just the experience we gain along the way.
Indeed. Pyre has a second objective done with Harp. Pankraz decided where to go. Are we getting a Luka check? We're getting a Luka check. Okay. Yep. If my math is correct, which it very rarely is, the only spots that can possibly have magma here are this, Baron, or the Pan turn-in, or either Shield 1 or Shield 2.
Yep.
Pankraz does not know yet that the Harp does not have it, but maybe we'll find our magma key down here.
Got 2 checks here. Key item here, and then the check here that has been forgotten. The boss check, because the Vulcan is still in play. Resetting out after only checking the key item here could be bad news. Yep. But I don't expect any of either runners to do that.
And of course, the one thing I forgot has the magma key. That's our third objective. Darkness is 4.
Grumble.
Mm-hmm. But man, that's a sorry to break your heart, my friend, but that is a hard required harp check right there. Yep. So, great news for Pyre. One thing for Pankraz, that dwarf castle has maybe put him behind the 8 ball a little bit. We are still up the Pan. If the Pan check has something significant, that might swing the momentum back toward Pankraz a little bit. Same with this check, which is a whole lot of nothing, unless we have the gauntlet in this spot. So Pankraz is set up to have his sweeper going first with plenty of MP. We still haven't seen our gauntlet. Let's see if it's here.
Pyre's going to make these spicy. Yeah. These ordeals check here. Do the quick boss checks.
I love this play. So we've talked about agility manipulation and keeping our runners slow. Here's a spot where it's a good idea to keep our runners quick. This is probably a check more for Gauntlet than anything else, although it certainly could have the Legend Sword or the Earth Crystal, which we are also looking to go ahead and complete our objectives. But with the levels, with the gear, and with the speed, these bosses do not take a very long time at all. So this Bahamut is likely to be one shot before the countdown can even begin. Meanwhile, we're going to get some really critical information here as to what's behind the actual Pan turn-in. So this is a pretty pivotal moment of this race right here. because Pankraz's dwarf play did not work out, whereas his early dwarf, his picking up the pan might work in his favor.
Again, we just see bomb and the mom bomb on Pyre side. So we do have one more, and I didn't see what the actual item was. It went complete, but that was a swing and a miss.
Yeah, I believe it was a poison axe and a silent staff. So that's a big old case of rando gonna rando. Pankraz will go ahead and be completing his harp check, which will go ahead and lead to Rat Tail. But that has to kind of swing the ball a little bit toward Pyre. In so many of these seeds, we've seen that the moon really hasn't held a whole lot of weight. We have that Baron Key looming, but this race might come down to are we going to the moon, and in what order are we going to go ahead and do our checks?
Ordeal's also a whiff, though. I want to see an antlion in that room here, and an ice brand, I believe here was the item on offer there. So a little bit of a time stick on Pyre side as well. So
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah, it's tricky to figure out, where to go. When you think about your weighting of a K main check versus a K trap check, you are more likely to go ahead and find your progression in a K main check. It's very difficult to figure out the most efficient routing on the fly to go ahead and hit all of the things. But we have Pyre raising the whale, so we might be heading toward maybe some hair dryers or a last arm. And we're going to get a reprise of that very chill ASMR type music.
At least for a few seconds.
Yeah. So please enjoy that until the Dark Elf ruins it. So Pyre with a rare mistake. Magic power does not really do. Magic does not do much. The magic defense there is incredibly high, and he still had Palm in the first slot, so that cost a little bit of time, just a few seconds, which might not seem like much, but when it comes to these races, that can certainly be a thing. Guess it's Rat Tail. Pyre going to last arm. We have Crystal Sword and Thunderclaw equipped, so this will get one shot. Here's what's interesting about this to me. We still haven't found the gauntlet. There is 65,000 HP at least at the element spot, which is the first of two boss spots. Pyre will undoubtedly be checking that first boss. Depending on what it is, I'll be curious to see if we take the fight just to go ahead and get another peek at the boss, or if we're going to go just, if it's not exactly the gauntlet, if we're going to go ahead and reset out.
In terms of saving a few seconds, one thing I did notice on Pankraz is that don't think I noticed on Pyre's side, warping out of Cave Magnus.
Correct. Ooh, that's a huge hit for Pyre. Not even checking the boss, just seeing his goodies and saying, thank you very much. So we are now a... changed his mind to go ahead and check the boss there. So that's access to 5 objectives, because opening the treasury is one of our 7 objectives. We have to do 6. So we are a legend sword, or we are a gauntlet away from being in go mode. and this kind of what we talked about earlier. 31 minutes in, no objectives done. And now here we are at 52 minutes, and we're one item from go mode.
One can always hope for, Legend Sword at the Mossa altar, and with the Fabul Gauntlet being there.
Mm-hmm. We have Pankraz raising the whale. Magma Key still has not been turned in. If Pankraz does not go to Ordeals, that'll certainly be a bit of a time save. That would also indicate to me that we're not really looking for, we're not fixated on bosses, that we're looking specifically for key items. We've also seen quite a few of these races where the gauntlet has been at a required Cave Bahamut. So Pyre, it'll be interesting to see if Pyre goes to Cave Bahamut first, or if Pyre goes to Hairdryers.
Like, if you have access to 5 objectives and you only need the 6th here, we've got access to all the boss checks at this point here. So it may very well be faster here just to check all your check all the bosses, unless Fuwala is in one of those buried places, like Giant 2 or Package.
Yep, that's for sure. Also, a bit of routing interest, a note of interest. We don't have the pass. Going to the moon without the pass can feel a little stinky. Maybe not stinky, if you will, but stinky regardless. So I wonder if that's going to drive our runners to maybe focus a little bit more on some more earth checks after doing a required Cave Bahamut, which we're going to find out if we have the gauntlet there. We've seen a lot of bosses already, or hair dryers. Go ahead.
One thing that could incentivize, doing the Earth Crystal check is exit. The lunar subterranean isn't a lot of fun here when you have to warp out or worse, walk out.
Yep, that's a very punchy Odin, but going to be a very dead Odin quite soon, because that Thunderclaw is going to do quite a bit of work. That lack of exit is significant. You can find them for sale, so if you want to spend some time going through the shops, or you can go through a very long Zot check. I expect that to do a lot more damage than that, and Pyre's going to have to go ahead and do a reset and kind of get recalibrated here. So a very rare reset from Pyre. As we're
Making a few adjustments here, getting some beefier the defense on that edge here is going to be the prime damage dealer on that. For this fight, putting a glass hat on Odin here to reduce the damage to a degree.
Yeah, so it looked like it might have been we have a glitch that we can utilize sometimes called the Berserk glitch, which basically allows for equipment to be shared. However, if you're trying at the last second to go ahead and throw equipment on, like a Thunderclaw, you might not actually have the Thunderclaw on. It's all very confusing. This should be quad 9s here. Oh, no. Okay. We're not using the Thunderclaw there, but to your point, that glass hat is doing significant work. This is one of the strongest physical attacks of the game, and Odin is a physical attacker. So that glass hat's a really nice adjustment.
Yep, and with a low magic power here, even if we hypothetically, if we were able to see the Zantetsuken here, they probably have a chance. They'd probably be able to tank this even here.
They
don't need to.
They absolutely would. The Zantetsuken is a magic attack, and the magic attack is exceptionally low there, so they would have for sure. So we knew that there would not be any kind of progression in terms of the key item that you get, because you can't get a key item without the K7 being on. However, another objective done for Pyre, and that Zeus Gauntlet is not the worst thing to find.
Because Pyre, again, walking out without the exit here. Paladin's been the anchor for much of this tier, so no exit support either.
Yep. We have a legend sword from the hair dryers. Our runners are both about to be in go mode with no pass, so exit is not going to be an issue because we're heading down. we have got quite the foot race in front of us.
Yeah. Also, one thing to note here, Pankraz's stream was, at least at the start of the stream, about 30 seconds ahead of Pyre. I'm not sure if Pyre's stream is caught up at this point. Hopefully we'll be able to get some clarification in a bit. But yeah, just to give everyone a heads up here, in case, this comes right down to the wire, which can certainly happen.
I mean, if you're looking for an exciting race, this is certainly going to go ahead and provide. It's been really interesting to see both of our runners choosing who to go ahead and anchor. Are you going to anchor with Palom, or are you going to anchor with Rosa? On Pyre's side, we're seeing the downside of needing to go ahead and anchor with Palom because we don't have a sweeper, so this takes a little bit longer. On Pankraz's side, we see that we have to go ahead and burn that Bacchus wine because Rosa is the anchor. So it's been really fun, at least from sitting up here, to watch the back and forth of both runners kind of dealing with the effects. I do believe that Pyre probably has a bit of an advantage here. Pyre has already dropped off the magma key, and Pankraz is now finishing the cave Bahamut. So Pyre is at 4 objectives. We'll open the treasury. I'd be shocked if we go ahead and actually look at it. We're going to go ahead and forge. I'd be shocked if we even look at the forge shop, which can have some goodies, but what do you really need at this point? I don't think we're seeing any grinding. I think we're just going.
Yeah. At this level, with runners at this level here, with Omnidextrous being able to make a lot of people viable for put out a significant amount of damage. Yeah, like these levels are sufficient. Most likely here to get through that fight here, as long as you get everyone zerked up.
Yeah, well, that's the magic part right there. We know that Pankraz burned one of his Bacchus wines on that fight. I don't know if he was able to go ahead and steal a second one. Brighton Dagger is a fun weapon. Can cast, I believe, Flood, I want to say, and has a nice bit of a wisdom boost. Nothing terribly useful there. So we're going to open the treasury and kind of be on our way. So I would give Pyre, gosh, I don't know, maybe a 90-second advantage, maybe 2 minutes.
In regards to that Bacchus wine here, not like that Pankraz, not going to be as much of an issue, I don't believe, here, because Rosa has levels now. So I should have access to Berserk as well.
For sure, but so if Rosa is going to be anchoring, which this might be a point for Pankraz to go ahead and switch over to a sit anchor, because when your Berserk caster is relative agility 5 as opposed to RA 1, it makes it that much harder to get everybody zerked up. Your Z fight finds stability when you have your Zerkers ready to go and everyone is anchored, as at exactly the hour mark Pyre receives his crystal. And we are doing the treasury. Wow. I am very surprised at this. I don't know what you're hoping for, looking for. A heroin robe, I suppose. I mean, that black belt's nice.
Black belt, heroin robe, yeah.
But so, that's I'm surprised. I definitely did not expect that. So there was that's a little bit of time back, not a ton.
There is, there is, some security in trying to make your Z fight as safe as possible, because there is no worse feeling in a race than wiping at the final boss.
Agreed. So we see on Pankraz's side, we're loading up with all of the wisdom and willpower boosting gear. When the big bangs happen, magic defense will help you dodge the rolls, as the children would say, as the kids would say with their speak. So loading up Rosa with all of that gear tells me that we're really going to go ahead and try to be dodging when big bangs come out. Also, we have Palom loaded up, I assume, with agility manipulation gear, so that the Berserks can go out a little faster. That's a really solid adjustment on Pankraz's side.
Yeah. Another potential answer to the agility question is a fifth character, because we haven't checked who the Lunar Deus is.
Well, I guess visiting his uncle, short of redemption, that's an anchor.
Yep.
For sure. I want to say starting agility is like 10 when you're a DKC and 13 when you're a paladin, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I wonder if that becomes an automatic anchor for both of our runners. We'll see what happens.
Train swords and dwarf axes along the way here. That brings it down to exactly 0 here, which you don't necessarily want. But yeah, like we've got, that is, anchor situation taken care of here. Now we've got a foot race down.
Yep, and while our runners are walking down, probably plotting out their Z fights in their head, I think this is an excellent opportunity to go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping. We are very generously hosted here on RPG Limit Break. If you are tuning in and you enjoy Free Enterprise or Final Fantasy IV and don't know a lot about it, we have an amazing Discord with just wonderful runners, new and old, experienced and not. Please come on in. Please join. We have a newbies channel for people to ask questions. If there's one thing people love to do in Free Enterprise, it is talk about Free Enterprise, and I am guilty as charged on that. We could go ahead and talk tech and strategies and memes and all of that kind of stuff all day long. I often refer to this place as the nicest place on the internet, which might be a low bar to set, but it's absolutely true. People are just incredibly kind and sweet here. As we see Pyre kind of figuring out what he wants to do there. So join our Discord. Also, thank you so much. We have Ali going ahead and doing so many things behind the scenes, as well as restream for tonight. Narukad for tracking, and Harumph. Thank you so much, my friend. You are a very well-known name in the community, so sharing comments with you is kind of a big deal for me.
I think more notorious than well-known, but pleasure's mine. The pleasure's mine.
So here's something interesting to me as we see, this is Pyre's race to lose. Pyre's going to get there first. Pyre can handle it for sure. But with that Rosa having levels, that's 3 potential Zerkers now for Pankraz, as opposed to just 2 sources of damage for Pyre. I do believe that Pankraz's Z fight can go faster. We've seen a lot of gear go out there. What we're going to want to try to pay attention to is Pankraz. Ooh, Pankraz taking a box, probably to get a little bit of... Cecil trying to think himself out, swing and a miss. Edge obliges there. We want to keep track of how much damage is happening, what we refer to as per round. The Z script is very well established. But as I'm talking about tech, I forgot to ask a very important question, because what are we about to see, Harumph?
We're about to see Zeromus's cosplay for today here. Can't randomize his location, so he chooses to randomize his appearance. We've got a whole whack of numbers of different costumes he's got available. We asked the question, you want to take this, John?
Whose butt are we gonna kick tonight? And does it have a buff? Taxes, yada yada yada. Again, join the Discord. We got all kinds of things here. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Well,
no, I'm not going to whitelist the to allow lists here.
That's pretty funny. All right, so what we see Pyre here doing is what's referred to as nerfing the Big Bang. This nuke is going to come out at an excellent target that no one cares about for this fight. And in order in the vanilla game to keep nuke from really destroying your party members, they dial down the magic attack. And then for this first one, at least, that magic power is going to stay low. So this Big Bang can only do a total of 1,200 HP per total max to each of our attackers here. So the 3 people that matter for this fight are going to go ahead and stay up. Pyre's done a wonderful job of getting both Zerkers online. Rosa will be able to go ahead and heal up. And then it's really going to come down to probably timing this second nerf carefully.
And we're seeing about 11,000, 12,000 per round with the Zerker set up here.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy. That second Zerker got up a little bit on the later side. So we're kind of in the threat of what's referred to as wombo combo territory.
Yeah.
We see a wall coming up, and the reason for that is because we're planning on nerfing. When you nerf the Big Bang, it results in a counter nuke being brought out there. That wall ensures that the strongest attacker, which is Sid, should the counter nuke target Sid, it'll be reflected. So we can expect as soon as Edge starts for the item ready to be reached. Hopefully that's on time. It should be. Pyre's very good at this. And that little pause might have been the refill here. So that... Oh, no. That was a little late. That opens the door wide open.
Actually, let's see what these numbers look like here. Oh, this is dicey here. Rose is down, and we only have Zerker, so it's...
We need a Meteor dodge is what we need. Oh, it doesn't matter. We are through. Oh, my goodness. GG's to Pyre and GG's to Game 5. Get those GG's in chat for our winner with a very exciting finish there at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 43 seconds. And I do believe that with the ding in our ear, we are joined by today's winner, Pyre. GG's, my friend.
GG's, thank you.
That Z fight was fun.
Yeah, my nerf was just a tiny bit slow, so it was clinchy there at the end of it.
Yeah, but your run was so very, very, very fast. Pankraz is obviously one of those names in the community, and to draw even 2-2 just really speaks to your consistency is very well established for those of us that have followed the tournament. But my goodness, pushing a Game 5 against Pankraz is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased about it, especially getting to give everybody a Game 5 out of it this too for a good finale to the tournament.
Absolutely. So my number one question is because one of the major points of tactical divergence, not necessarily with the checks, and we'll get to that in a bit, was your choice to go ahead and anchor with Palom. What was your thought process behind that?
Well, my whole thought process was if he gets bopped in the first fight, then I was just going to leave him dead. If he lived, then he gets to live.
Got some Harry Potter stuff going on there.
Yep. And he didn't make it, so he had to be on the floor the whole day.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, you knew that you had sweeping ability with Edge, which you utilized very nicely. What's interesting is that Pankraz had Rose down for quite a bit. So whereas Pankraz had an easier time with sweeping, you had the easier time with Berserk with some of the fights.
Yeah, I tried to do all the sweeps so I didn't have to do a bunch of gear changes with Edge, just so I didn't have to constantly change back and forth. So it wasn't probably too much of a time loss having Palom versus Edge.
For sure. I mean, you handled everything beautifully.
When it comes to routing here, we had access to a lot of spots. With a starting hook and a free darkness crystal at Bedward, combined here with the powerful characters you had earlier, with Edge being in the readily accessible here. How did that affect your routing choices here?
Well, with the early darkness crystal, I was not heading to the moon, especially with the characters that we had, for nothing until I found the magma key. So the rest of it was pretty much just try to be efficient as possible, even though I forgot something, and then just try to go through everything as fast as possible. When coming down for the hook route, even though I had the tower key already, seeing Val at the top of the tower, I really didn't want to fight her with just like an ogre axe and a power staff, because that would have taken forever. So I decided to go around and sweep to try to get some better gear to hopefully speed that Val fight up.
Yeah, you and I have never had a Val up there, right? Me and you?
Yeah.
Of course not. Yeah. Another point of divergence in terms of your routing now is that Pankraz elected to go ahead and do Fabul before going underground, which I'm sure by now you know had the pan. The check did not pan out. Were you tempted to do Fabul before going underground, or had you kind of made up your mind relatively quickly about that?
No, I considered it as going around since no other real key items showed up. I wasn't really in too big of a rush to go there. So I decided to hit it up on my way back, even though I forgot it, which was lucky. I remembered as soon as I was going to the moon that I forgot to do it. So luckily it came up to nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you say forgot. I say strategically honored your fate. I mean, tomato, tomato. It's
Yep,
basically the same thing, right?
pretty much.
So this is a wonderful run. Have there been any tweaks in your strategy as you've gone through? Because when you're facing the same opponent, you kind of get to know them on a different level. Have there been tweaks toward your routing or tactics at all, or have you just kind of been consistently playing your game and we're seeing kind of the fruits of that labor?
I'm just mostly consistently playing my game. Plus, Pancras doesn't always do the same thing every single time, so it's kind of hard to predict what he's going to do.
Yeah. By the way, we're looking at a blue robe on Baron, and I'm dying to know if that's the goal or not. But
Yeah, I'm not sure.
that's pretty funny. Yeah, when that Baron key popped up, was there any? Because that's a very divisive item. Was there any temptation to follow that, or were you just like, nah, we're not doing that?
Well, if I didn't get the legend sword, I believe it was, out of the hairdryer's chest, I was going to go down, go up that, and then into Baron.
Okay, so really doing the really blue planet before moon, basically.
Yep. I had no warp, no exit. I wasn't going to walk down the moon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So
So-
in less
No, no, go ahead, please.
okay, in less than 20 hours here, it's all on the line. What's your mindset going into the potentially, barring a tie? We'll bring that bring that meme up here. Barring tie here, what will be the final showdown?
Yeah. I'll do my best to actually make that tie exist.
Wow, bold statement. I love it. I know certain people that wouldn't. I got to tell you, one race I had forced the admin to actually go through redo all the timing. I have a slightly different perspective on it now because while it's been funny to joke about, to actually be the cause of it, it was like the guilt came in pretty quick. I mean, if y'all do have a T word, I was told not to swear on stream. If y'all do have a T word, I mean, that's just more free enterprise for us. So that'd be fun. GG's again, beautifully run. Watching you two just put on a clinic for the community was just so much fun from up here. Do you have any last thoughts on the seed?
Nope.
No,
just-
so
Oops, sorry.
sorry, that was your question. I was expecting different leaders there.
Oh, no problem. I actually didn't hear who he referred it to, so I just assumed it was me.
I like to be ambivalent.
But for me, nope, I don't have any extra thoughts on the seat at all. Just kind of nervous about tomorrow, but hopefully we'll put on another good show for everybody.
I can't possibly imagine that you won't. GG's, my friend. Beautifully done. And thank you for Game 5. We're all very grateful.
GG's and thanks. Thanks for
Good
having
luck.
me on. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
So that was our winner of Game 4, Pyre, forcing a Game 5. And with that ding in our ear, I do believe we are joined by the one and only Pankraz. GG's.
Hey, thank you. GG's.
So I think the two probably the biggest, if you had to point to one thing, would be your decision to go ahead and do Dwarf Castle. I think if there's literally one thing to kind of point at, that's where the biggest time difference is outside of the Panbonk. What was your thought process in going into Dwarf?
Magma key logic, ultimately. Like, at that point, I've narrowed it down. They can be behind one of the things that I've been or that I've acquired. It can be behind Twin Harp, it can be behind Baron Key, it can be behind whatever they give. It can be behind Luca, it can be behind Dwarf. Nothing on the moon can give me Magma Key access at this point. The only thing or gating key items left are Rat Tail, Earth Crystal. Both those are on the planet. Darkness was Overworld. So Magma is gated somewhere down there, and I just have to find it. So, with Dwarf being 2 extra boss checks to continue trying to find the gauntlet, since in my head I'm still thinking, I need Darkness and half a Forge or Earth Crystal. Or sorry, not Darkness. What's the other thing? Earth Crystal,
Legend
Gauntlet, or Legend Sword. Yeah, I need some combination of 2 of those because I have the Magma Key in hand, essentially. I just have to find the right check. So, Dwarf Castle represents 2 more chances at Gauntlet, represents a chance at that Magma Key, or worst case scenario, one of the other things, and we can see what in the world happens. And ultimately, well, you saw what happened. Crystal Glove, and a whole bunch of time, and then go finish up the circuit, go to Luca, spend a little more time for absolutely nothing, and ultimately bleed a little more over 3 minutes or so. That'll just be how it is.
Yeah, and you look at 3 minutes, but you look at Dwarf Castle, you look at Luca, you look at following the pan chain, which Pyre didn't do. Pyre did do ordeals, but with his power, it was a relatively quick check. It's as well as those of us that have run these flags that sometimes it's just the way that it goes.
100%.
You had I was watching both matches over the weekend that y'all had, and you'd made a comment in your interview that you have to go ahead and you can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that reality with the things that you do, sometimes you just need them to hit. And with 2 top runners like yourselves, this is just kind of what happens. Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
No, exactly. You got to cut corners somewhere, and well, the corners I cut weren't sufficient time to save, and ultimately, well, I went on a couple other, side branches. We'll go with that terminology.
Side branch, okay. I see you. All right, we're gonna make that canon for sure. Haramf, I've been hogging the mic. I'm sorry, dude. Any questions for him?
Yeah, again, one other point of DVC here was choice of anchor early on here, where you went with the Rosa anchor, and I ended up here with the Palom as the anchor here. Was there any thought process in terms of choosing who you wanted here to lie on the ground for a little bit?
I made the decision in Baron Inn, ultimately. My order of checks on the overworld maybe messed things up a bit for me on that front. Since I found Palom first, I said that's going to be my sweeper. Rosa can get experience to get to Berserk, and she can anchor until I find a 5th character. Thinking that I would find one relatively quickly, spoiler. And then see what happens from there. Worst case, I have a Berserk anchor for some fights, and I can still cast it. Best case, I find somebody else, and I get both a sweeper and a great white mage out of it. Then Ed shows up on Hobbs, throws a wrench in the plans. He's a sweeper option too, especially if you go down the Fey March and you get all the charm rods and everything down there, which will speed things up a bit. So it was that early route, kind of solidified me into thinking that Palom is going to cast Quake and Palom is going to do things. And I wanted to lean a little bit more into that than, the Cure 3 spell or anything that comes after Berserk.
Yeah, and Palom did cast Quake. There's also time saves that you had with Warp. Leaving Harp, you're able to warp out, whereas Haramf was not. Same thing with the Giant too. So it definitely, it was interesting seeing, times where the Warrior chest, you went faster. And with the hair dryers, you went faster and you had warp. But then other times where Berserk had to be kind of, for the Odin fight, you burn one of your Bacchus wines, but which you had stolen. Yeah, but Pyre was able to go ahead and cast Berserk faster at times, for the Val fight. So it was really interesting to see 2 very valid approaches go through. I thought at some point, I know that Sid is big beefy boy, but I was, with Edge being another strong melee character, I was wondering if at some point Sid was going to end up being your anchor to go ahead and have both Berserk and Quake at RE1.
I had a thought about that somewhere around the 45, 50-minute mark. Maybe I should have anchored with Sid, but ultimately, like, I wanted a second Berserker. I want a powerful second Berserker, and Sid
Sure.
has, I checked my stat screen at the end. He had 82 strength. Like, he's getting the multipliers. He's going to do damage. He was a little underwhelming at Zeromas. I was expecting at least 6,000 consistently.
I'll talk to him. He was probably taking a nap after blowing up a mountain or something. I'll talk
Or
to him.
after getting exploded by Wyvern. 50-50.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Nice speedy second fight, if nothing else, right?
Oh yeah, and a little apt that the exploder becomes the explodee.
Yeah. I mean, we're all about the memes in this tournament, so maybe you just create another one for us.
Speaking of memes, tomorrow we've got game
The
5.
thrilling meme conclusion.
Yes. We have, Pyre's committed that he's going to do his best. I just want to see what your plans were to guarantee a game 6.
No. No, I do not have time for game 6. My schedule is hectic enough, and no game 6. Smiley face.
All right, well, I'm sure that
I'll
game
play
5.
my best, and I'll be sure to put on another great showing. Like, all these races have been nice and close, and it's coming down to like some minutia, some small routing decisions. Which order did you do this? Which thing did you skip? And well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. I'm hoping to continue playing well. I can't be upset with my play. I think my decisions were sound. My execution was good. So I just gotta keep it up and continue performing well tomorrow, and maybe cut the right corners.
That sounds like a plan. I know that a lot of people are excited to watch you two go at it. So, GG's again. You're absolutely right. Certainly nothing wrong with the gameplay or the routing. And we, not to be selfish, but we kind of expect more of the same tomorrow night. So, good luck in advance, my friend.
All right, 50-50. I'll either do more of the same or fall on my face. So
That is literally how the math works. That is correct.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, checks out.
GG's, bud. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right, thank you. GG's again to Pyre. Great series so far. We'll keep it up. And thank you all here in the broadcast booth, of course. Thank you, John. Thank you, Harumph. Thank you. Is that Narrowcat?
Mhm.
Can't tell.
Yep.
Streamer mode is being mean to me. And of course, thank you, Alisa. And of course, thank you to our partners at RPG Limit Break for allowing the show to feature on their channel. Appreciate you all. Have a fantastic rest of the night.
All right,
See you
take
tomorrow.
care. Well, Harumph, how fun was that, huh?
Yeah, that was quite the race. And I'm sure game 5 tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure if it's going to be on here or
I believe
Green?
it is here. It is 6
oh,
p.m.
perfect.
6 p.m. Eastern. But so that's what we're doing tomorrow. Where are we off to right now?
We're going to go off to raid. Games done quick for so I had to show up on here for the broadcast of Express Lane.
Very fun. So thank you all for tuning in. You heard it from the man himself. 6 p.m. here tomorrow night for a very epic Game 5 for what has been an incredibly fun tournament. Again, thank you to our admin team and all the work behind the scenes for all that you do so that we can go ahead and talk and watch video games. Harumph, this was an absolute blast, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a great time, and we hope to see everyone back here tomorrow, 6 p.m.
All right. Good night. Bye-bye.